Welcome again to the Medical Terminology Podcast. This episode is Chapter 11, Part 1, I word parts. The main challenge in Chapter 11 is that it covers not one, but two body systems, the eye and the ear. And so there's a lot of anatomy associated with each system in this chapter. Once you master the anatomy and the word parts that go with it, the remainder of the chapter is really fairly easy. We're going to begin with the I word parts. In the next episode, we'll try to relate these word parts to the anatomy. First of all, we're going to look at just some general word parts. We have three word parts that refer to the eye. And again, these aren't interchangeable. You're going to have to memorize when a term favors one word part over the other. And we also have to be careful about spelling. The first one is ophthalmo, OPHTHALM/O. And this one's tricky to spell because it has that first H in there that is silent. We don't say it. It's very easy to leave it out. Ophthalmo, OPHTHALM/O. The next word part is oculo, OCUL/O. And the final one is opto, OPT/O. Again, all three refer to the eye, but we have to be careful about which one goes with which term. Next, we have three abbreviations, and we don't really do much with abbreviations because, again, it's dangerous to use abbreviations. If you mess one up, you can really have the wrong meaning, and there could be serious consequences. However, in the chapter on the eye and the ear, there are some abbreviations that are really commonly used, and you see them in the chapter, and so we're going to do these. The first abbreviation is OD, capital O, capital D. And that stands for Oculus Dexter, OCULUS DEXTER. And what does this mean? Well, it means right eye. You may have heard of the word dexterous, meaning you are very good at manipulating things with your hands. Well, in this universe we live in, there's a big bias in favor of right-handed people versus left-handed. People who are right-handed are said to be dexterous. So that's maybe a mnemonic to help you, is think about the biases of right versus left-handers. The right-handers are dexterous. Oculus Dexter means right eye. The next one is OS, which refers to left eye. OS is an abbreviation for oculus sinister. And again, this goes back to the biases against left-handed people. They are thought to be sinister. So sinister actually means left. Oculus sinister, left eye, OS. And then finally we have OU. And OU means both eyes. It's an abbreviation for oculus uteric. And I like to remember this one just thinking U for universal. That would mean all of it, which would mean all of the eyes. So if we use the abbreviation OU, we're referring to both eyes. OS, the sinister left eye, and OD, the dexterous, or the really good guy right eye. Okay, following those terms, we have chromato, CHROMAT/O, and chromato refers to color. Then we have some word parts that are directional in nature, and these can be a little tricky. They're used in some of the pathologies. The first one is EC, EC, hyphen, and that means out. The opposite of ek is in. En hyphen, which means in. Ek is out. En is in. Then we have two more prefixes that have similar but not identical meanings. We have eso, eso hyphen. That means inward. And we have exo, exo hyphen, which means outward. And these four prefixes can be used with another combining form, tropo, trop/o, which means turn. Okay, well, those are the general word parts related to eyes. And as always, we're going to go ahead and do some practice. First of all, spell the word part ophthalmo. Okay, I hope you remembered the tricky silent H. It's OPHTHALM/O, the combining form for what? What does ophthalmo refer to? Well, ophthalmo again refers to the eye. What is another word part that refers to the eye? Well, you could have said oculo, OCUL/O, or you could have said opto, OPT/O. And what is the word part that means color? That's chromato, CHROMAT/O, chromato. What is the abbreviation that refers to both eyes? Well, that's OU. And again, I like to remember that refers to universal or both of the eyes. What is the abbreviation that refers to the left eye? Well, the way to remember that is we left-handed people, like your instructor, are sinister. Sinister starts with an S. So that would be oculus sinister, OS. OS is the abbreviation for the left eye. And then what is the abbreviation that refers to the right eye? Well, again, there's a bias towards the right-handed people. They're dexterous. Dexterous starts with a D, so right eye is going to be OD. Oculus dexter. OD is the right eye. Okay, and what is the combining form that means turn? That's tropo. TROP/O. What is the prefix that means inward? Inward is eso. ESO hyphen. And what is the prefix that means outward? That's exo. EXO hyphen. And what is the prefix that means out? Well, that is ec, ec hyphen. And finally, what is the prefix that means in? Well, that's n, en hyphen. Okay, well now we have some word parts. They're primarily combining forms that refer to the anatomy of the eye. First of all, we have the outer parts that are actually referred to as the adnexa, adnexa, and these are like the accessory organs or parts of the eye. They're not part of the eye itself, but they're part of the system. And the first one is blepharo, BLEPHAR/O. Blepharo refers to the eyelid. Related to that, we have tarso, TARS/O, and that refers just to the edge of the eyelid. Not the whole eyelid, but just the edge of the eyelid. And then we have conjunctivo, CONJUNCTIV/O. Conjunctivo refers to the conjunctiva. Well, what's the conjunctiva? Well, it is a membrane lining the underside of each eyelid. If you grab your eyelid and kind of turn it inside out and look in there, you'll see that there's a membrane in there. And that membrane is called the conjunctiva. And the word part for it again is conjunctivo. Well, then we have the part where the eyelids meet in the corner of the eye. We have the inner corner and the outer corner. And this is referred to by the combining form cantho, CANTH/O. And cantho is the canthus, which again is the corner of the eye. We have the outer canthus and the inner. Then we have some word parts related to the tear production. And the first one is a combining form that means tear, and that is dacryo, DACRY/O. Dacryo refers to tear. And the general term for the tear-producing apparatus, all of the bits and pieces that relate to tear production, is called the lacrimal apparatus, LACRIMAL, lacrimal apparatus, which again is the tear-producing anatomy, and the word part that refers to that is lacrimo, LACRIM/O. Okay, so again, if you group these word parts together, it will help you to learn them. First of all, we had the three related to the eyelids, then we had the corner of the eye, and then finally we have the two related to the tear production system. From this outer anatomy, again the adnexa, we then go to the eyeball itself and all the parts that make up the eyeball. First of all, the eyeball rests in a socket in your skull, and that socket is referred to by the combining form orbito, ORBIT/O. Orbito refers to an orbit or bony socket that the eyeball fits in. Well, on the outside of the eyeball, we have that white area we all know about. We call it the white of the eye. And the word part that refers to the white of the eye is sclero, SCLER/O. Sclero refers to the sclera, which is the white of the eye. On the front surface of the eye, where it is not white, we have a clear window, a clear part of the eyeball where light can get into the inside. so we can see. And that clear part on the front surface of the eye is known as the cornea. And the word part for cornea is kerato, Kerat/O. Now, behind the cornea, we have some apparatus, some anatomy that plays a role in regulating the light flow into the eye. First of all, we have the lens. The lens is able to focus light into the eye, and the word part for lens is phaco, Phak/O. Phaco means lens. Then we have the colored part of the eye that's behind the cornea. We all know that colored part. The colored part is known as the iris, which I think most of us know. And the word part for iris is irido, IRID/O. And finally, within the iris, we have that black circle, which most of us know is called the pupil. And that black circle is where light can actually go on and get into the eye. And the word part for pupil is choro, COR/O. And I think we want to be careful not to confuse choro, which means pupil, with cornea. Okay, that could be a little confusing. The word part for cornea is what? Hope you remember kerato. Kerato is cornea, but choro is pupil. Okay, as always now, we're going to do some practice with these. What is the word part that refers to a bony socket? That is orbido, ORBIT/O. And what is the word part that refers to the cornea? That's kerato, KERAT/O. And what is the word part that refers to the white of the eye? That's sclero, SCLER/O. And what is the word part that refers to the corner of the eye? That is cantho, CANTH/O. And what is the word part that refers to a tear? That's dacryo, DACRY/O. What is the word part that refers to the tear producing anatomy? That's lacrimo, LACRIM/O. And what is the word part that refers to the eyelid? That's blepharo, BLEPHAR/O. How about the edge of the eyelid? What would be the combining form for the edge of the eyelid? That's tarso, TARS/O. And what is the word part that refers to lens? That's phaco, PHAK/O. What is the word part that refers to the pupil? That's choro, C-O-R/O. And what is the word part that refers to the iris? That's irido, I-R-I-D/O. And finally, what is the word part that refers to the membrane lining the eyelid? That's conjunctivo, C-O-N-J-U-N-C-T-I-V/O. Okay, now for the final part here, we have some word parts that are used to pertain to pathologies. And some of these can be a little tricky, so I'm going over these with you. First of all, we have a suffix that, in a broad general sense, just means a vision condition. And that suffix is opia, hyphen O-P-I-A. Then we have 3 or 4 combining forms that I think can be a little bit tricky. They will be used later to form terms that refer to a pathology. I think if we get the word parts down, that will help us not be tricked by the terms. The first one is amblio, A-M-B-L-Y/O, and amblio means dim or dull. Then we have a combining form, aniso, A-N-I-S/O. Aniso means unequal. And then we have 2 combining forms that actually have opposite meanings, and they sure sound and look a lot alike, so we have to be very careful of them. First of all, we have ametro, A-M-E-T-R/O, ametro. And ametro means out of proportion. Now, on the other hand, if everything's okay, if everything's what we would say in proportion or in proper measure, we would use the word part emetro, E-M-M-E-T-R/O. Emetro again means in proper measure. That is the opposite of ametro, which means out of proportion. The next combining form is presbyo, P-R-E-S-B-Y/O, and presbyo means old age. Then we have nyctalo, N-Y-C-T-A-L/O. Nyctalo refers to night. And finally, we have xero, X-E-R/O. Xero refers to dry. You may have heard of xeriscape. Xeriscape is just making a landscape or having plantings that don't require much water. They're dry, like the desert. Xero means dry. Okay, now we're going to do some practice with these. What word part refers to old age? That's presbyo, P-R-E-S-B-Y/O. What word part means night? That's nyctalo, N-Y-C-T-A-L/O. And what word part means dry? That's xero, X-E-R/O. And what is the suffix that can in general refer to any vision condition? A vision condition is what? Well, that's opia, hyphen O-P-I-A, the suffix that means a vision condition. And what is the combining form that means in proper measure? Well, that's emmetro, EMMETR/O. And what is the combining form that has the opposite meaning, out of proportion? That's ametro, AMETR/O. And we got two more here. What is the word part that means unequal? That's aniso, ANIS/O. And finally, what is the word part that means dim or dull? Well, that's amblio, AMBLY/O. Okay, we've covered the major word parts that refer just to the eye. Later on, we'll have an episode where we do the word parts for the ear. But right now, we're just focusing on the eye. In the next episode, we'll go ahead and look at the eye anatomy, which seems to give people some trouble. And we're going to connect the anatomy to the word parts we've learned. So this ends this episode of the Medical Terminology Podcast.